How is the present Middle East conflict a radicalizing influence? Many will be aware of the grievances that emanated following the Gulf War of the 90s, of the early noughties, 2003. If we stick with 2003, I've mentioned this previously, we saw the emergence of Daesh, ISIS. Who made up ISIS? It was former prisoners of that particular war. Prisoners who considered themselves freedom fighters. They'd seen what had happened in Abu Ghraib, what happened in Fallujah, at the hands, boots, weaponry of America, the UK, and other Western forces. So that spurned a community, or among a community, individuals violently radicalized. That extended to our own societies in the West. We only have to recall some of the significant terrorist attacks on Western soil. So if looking at those examples is not enough, does not suffice to understand the possible pathway, trajectory of radicalization, then we haven't learned any lessons. Western governments have not learned any lessons, and they should have, because they have strategies in place in the UK to combat terrorism, to combat radicalization, in America, on mainland Europe, across the world. And those include evidence, case studies of radicalization, the cycles of violence, the tipping points, the triggers. The founder of Hamas, as I've mentioned previously, was a 7 or 8 year old boy witnessing in the 40s the now IDF lining up teenage boys and men and shooting them. That was a radicalizing influence on this particular individual. Doesn't justify the extremist tendencies that emerge, and some will criticize me for saying that. Yes, we look from an Islamic perspective of what extremism is, and we stick within that confine. There are Western categorizations, and there are theological categorizations, and as Muslims we look at that. We look at other extreme entities and how they evolved, how they emerged, what was the rationale for them. And it was a grievance or grievances regarding what their communities, their people, their faith, their societies had been subjected to. So when we look at what the Palestinians are being subjected to post 7 October, it is undeniable that what we are seeing is a radicalizing influence. To who? To what generations? The younger ones, but we can't determine at this stage exactly who they are and where they will emerge from. How do we deal with that? For a start, we need to be more united in our discourse around what's taking place now, and to sit and see support for the continued murder of babies, women, children is beyond words.